Good morning traders, Joseph here from Eightcap. Welcome to this week's Trade Zone Asian session update. So the G7 was on over the weekend. Probably the key from the G7 was that there's a raft of new sanctions coming out against Russia, to try and put on some payback against the Russian government for the invasion of Ukraine. The President of Turkey, who's a very colourful character, there's a big cost involved with his party maintaining the lead in the election at the moment, and he's also not stepping away from what he deems as a special relationship with Putin as things move forward. There's still a lot of pressure as well on China to try and broker a peace deal to try and end the war, with China being one of the closest partners of Russia at this point in time, and also it's probably a leading word of reason as well for President Putin as well. So also over the weekend, to cap off the week, we had comments from the chairman of the Fed, and some of those comments there was a bit mixed in terms of the rates watch. Some comments suggested that they need to stay steadfast in its goal to reduce prices, and they will do that. But they did say that due to stresses from the banking sector, that could also mean the policy rate may not need to rise as much as they first otherwise would have thought to achieve their goal. So it's very mixed as usual, but there's still a message of rates could go up and we could get a hold. So some of the other headlines coming out on the rate side is that Fed member Kashkari, he did say that he is open to foregoing a June rate rise. Now that's an interesting one to hear from him, because he's always been rather hawkish during the course of this inflation saga, so it is interesting to hear the comments from him. On the debt ceiling saga as well, which continues, we did have some more updates from that. So Biden says he won't agree to a debt ceiling deal solely on Republicans' terms, as he left the G7 over the weekend. And so also news is that Biden and Speaker McCartney will meet on Monday, today in the US, which is late today for us, to discuss the debt limit talks, and they did have a productive call. So there is still some mixed headlines coming out about that as well. And today we don't have any key news. There's a bank holiday in Canada, and coming up this week we'll touch on some of the data that's coming up this week. We're just looking at the dollar at the moment. We'll get on some of the prices in a moment as well. So we have flush data coming out for the EU, for France, Germany, the US, and for the UK. And this data is a pretty good gauge of services and manufacturing. So Germany is one of the ones to watch, same with the UK, and also the US data as well. So from first looks, there's no real big expectations coming out, so we can see how that winds in through tomorrow. Wednesday we have New Zealand bank interest rate decision. They're looking for a quarter of a percent increase to 5.50%. Great Britain as well, we have CPI data coming out. Now this is interesting for the UK, because they're looking for a decent drop in CPI to come in at 8.2 on the year-on-year. So that could be an interesting one to keep an eye on. If there's any type of miss there to the upside, we could see some sort of movements on the pound. So we can see here on the pound to the dollar, it did have a recovery on Friday. That was really driven by dollar weakness, as the dollar took a bit of a breather. We can see the support here at 23.98 or 24. That's sort of the support area that we're keeping an eye on at the moment. And we also have the Governor Bailey. He's speaking twice on Wednesday. So first at 7:30 p.m. Local time here, which is Australian Eastern Standard Time, and then later in the evening at 11 p.m. So Thursday we have the FOMC meeting minutes, so that's going to be one to definitely keep a look at, and just to get a bit of a gauge of the last meeting, and to maybe get some more hints on where they're at and what they're thinking based on where they see inflation at the moment and ideas, any hints for ideas moving forward. And this will coincide with the debt ceiling this week, I'd say, with the debt ceiling still being a decent issue continuing on. It'll be interesting to see what we get out of that later today for Monday's meeting. We then have prelim GDP, unemployment claims, and the core PCE price index on Friday. So that's another one to keep a bit of a look at, as it's part of the data reliant. That was a comment made by the Fed chair in previous weeks. So some of the markets on Friday, we had a pullback on the dollar after a pretty good session. Now that probably coincides with a bit of instability around some of the comments on the debt ceiling, so that it is a little bit weaker today at this stage. We are seeing buying on risk majors, so the Aussie, the Euro and the Pound, and we are seeing buying as well against the Yen. So the dollar is just in the red to the Yen at this stage, and the Kiwi is doing quite well this morning to the dollar at 0.22% gain. Some of the stock indices, so we did see a pullback on Friday. After we would think that's due to some of the maybe a bit of profit taking and a bit of indecision and a little bit of worry creeping back in again from some of the comments coming out from the president. We saw US markets just finished into the red, so the Dow dropped 0.33 and the small caps dropped 0.62%. At this stage in the morning, despite some weaker leads, the ASX is just in the green. It's 5.5 points higher, and European indexes finished the week stronger as well, with the FTSE adding 0.19%, the DAX adding 0.69%. And if we look at some of the futures this morning, we can see that we are seeing some higher moves at this stage. So we'll keep an eye on the outer hours to see if that does continue to filter through. So the S&P is up 0.14 and the NDX 100 is 0.19%. So these are CFD indexes, but they do track the futures out of hours when the cash isn't running. So it gives a bit of an idea of the mood that's currently going on in the market at the particular time. So not too surprising to see that a little bit of a pullback here. It's nearly an inside bar. We just have that tail outside, and we are seeing a bit of buying here today at this stage. So there's no real support there. I think we just have to keep a bit of a watch on it, see if it can test and break this point. But also do watch out if we do get some bad news tonight. That could turn into a new lower high with a new push lower, and could sort of catch any buyers off guard as well. So the S&P, we just saw that a bit of that hold there after breaking out that resistance last week. We just saw a bit of a hold, and if we just zoom out a little bit, we can just see that resistance there that sort of started to come back into play. So that's at 4,198.36 area. If we do see a break and close above this level, that will continue to tell us that this trend is driving on. And the JPN 225, we will be watching this one today after some incredible rallies last week. We did see the pullback on Friday, but after a bit of a dull, softer start this morning, we are seeing a bit of buying at the moment. So once the cash market's up and running, we'll see if we can get more drive. We could see some more buying with a lower yen, and be interesting to see if we do see another test of Friday's high at 30,987, that area there. Gold, after a bit of a pullback on the dollar, had a nice and very nice end to the week. We can see that strong reversal bar here. There is some demand here and some support as well, and that's at 1956.04. That's definitely an area to watch this week, and we'd like to see if buyers can defend that area during the week. And similar, we'll have a look over at oil. So oil had a pretty mixed session. There's resistance up at 72.87, and there's a bit of short-term demand around at 71.55. The key true support's down at 69.95, and then there's a lot more resistance up at 73.59. So oil continues to be really mainly range bound at the moment, and we'll just have to see if we get a bit of drive to try and either break this level here or break this level down below, just to get some direction going in the market. So Crypto is another one we're going to quickly touch on before we wrap up. So crypto looks a bit lost at the moment. We can see here not too much going on in Bitcoin. It's more really just range bound between these two areas. Ever since the banking crisis sort of, I won't say stopped, but sort of settled down and drifted into the revision a little bit, we are just seeing a lot of crypto coins sort of either falling or just sort of treading water, and Bitcoin's sort of painting that picture now. Ethereum is another. It really does look nearly identical to Bitcoin at the moment. It's just sort of treading water between these two levels. And Ripple, which had a pretty solid week last week, it did have a weaker day yesterday, but it is definitely one to watch with the SEC in the background and being driven by that. And we do see this level here as key resistance for now, and that's at 0.47, and there's more resistance here on the short term to medium term, and that's at 0.46. So those two levels are areas for buyers to try and have a new test and break to sort of get this trend going again. Even if we do see a pullback to here, it's not a big worry in my opinion. This trend is still, this leg up is still intact. We've got this breakout, so we'll just need to see if buyers can break this point of resistance and then this level here to get this trend going again. So that's a couple markets that watching over this morning. Some of the things just to watch this week will be obviously the Fed minutes and the flash data coming out tomorrow, if it will have any impact on the euro, the dollar, and on the pound. So the euro at the moment, after a bit of a small buy up on Friday, we do see some support here at 1.0761. It's still quite negative though on the short term. There's no real buy screaming out just yet. Even if we do see a bit of a move up, we'd like to see if we get a lower high, and then we'd see if we can continue to get a break of this trend line here. Overall, it's still in a pretty solid uptrend, but we do need to see a pattern from buyers saying that selling is being stopped, and we are going to see a new attempt to try and move higher. So we'll see some of the data that comes out this week, the debt ceiling tonight. That will be probably a key one with those talks. I think if that does work out really well, it could have a positive influence on the dollar. It has been doing that recently, and so if there is still a bit of a stalemate or an impasse, maybe that could also lead to some more selling on the dollar, but we'll just have to see how the market takes to that one. So yeah, the FOMC, the ceiling tonight, and some of the data that is coming out. Sorry, not the FOMC, the meeting minutes this week and the debt ceiling, probably two of the keys to watch this week. So thank you for your time this morning. I hope you have a fantastic week, and we wish you all the best for your trading. And if you are enjoying our content, please feel free to subscribe and give us a like. So all the best. Thanks very much for your time. Bye for now.